I made it to the top without you, Pit. Get out of here.
It's gonna be great to watch you fall.
Now, in today's breakdown, we are going to be taking a look at Shanti Showstopper and revisit the question that I asked prior to episode 9, which was, could Shanti be trusted or will she stab Tommy in his back? Because to be fair to Shanti, she is someone who actually held it down in more ways than one in episode 9. But is that enough to change my mind about her character? Has that changed your mind about her character? Especially when it comes to the question around trust. At the time, a lot of you guys in the comment section were thinking the same as me. Miguel, Shanti and Tommy do make for one very dangerous team, but where Tommy could trust Miguel, we couldn't trust Shanti in the same way. I do think for me, I still need to see a bit more before I can fully say, yeah, this is now a character that Tommy can be in business with long term. This is someone who Tommy can leave his Chicago business with while he goes and deals with whatever he needs to deal with Tariq and Power Legacy. For now, the jury is still out, the question still stands, but she did no doubt take some steps forward in episode 9 in gaining a bit more trust. But what's next? What's her next move? Because she is someone who definitely will have one, that's for sure. And how does the story arc end come the end of Power Book 4 Force, Season 3? Now, when you think about who Shanti actually is as a character, she's very fierce, strong-minded, and she does like to play the game of chess. She said that back in episode 4 in conversation with Raheem. It's something we haven't referenced in my breakdowns for a very long time, but I do think it's the perfect character when it comes to playing this game, which requires strategy, patience, and forward thinking. You need to be able to outthink your opponent, what moves they're going to be making, and how can you make a counter move. And that's what she's shown for a majority of her time in Force. She's a very strategic player, very calculated, forward thinking, and patient. She's also a chess player herself, which she said back in episode 4. The moves that she was making dating back to season 2 with Jannard were very calculated, as were her planting the seeds of doubt in Diamond's mind back in episode 8. Same thing with Raheem. Let's be real. She knows damn well with what she was doing with Raheem, knowing that he'd do anything for Shanti. Monet said it best back in conversation with Diana back in season 1 of Ghost.
Man doesn't fall in love with you. He falls in love with the image of himself that he sees in your eyes. It's about being a woman in a man's world. Men have certain advantages. I'm teaching you how to even the playing field.
That's the game that Shanti was playing when it came to Raheem. But when you think about the game of chess for those who play and understand the rules, and I'm sure many of you do, I'm not saying Shanti is a pawn, she's far from it, but she does play a very patient game where she's been building brick by brick, block by block, one square at a time, just like a pawn would do. A pawn can only move one square at a time apart from its first move, where it can move by 2 or when it can attack. From then on, it can only move one square at a time, and if you're able to make it to the end of the board, if you're able to reach the other side of the chessboard, that pawn can then become a queen.
They move like this, one space forward only. Now for pawn, made all the way down to the other dude's side, you get to be queen.
Now the queen ain't no bitch, she definitely has got all the moves. And in a nutshell, that definitely is Shanti Showstopper. She is someone who has all the moves, she knows when to ditch the losers and pick the winners, which is exactly what she's done over these last few episodes. She's ditched Jannard and her plan to take out Tommy and Diamond, she's now got Raheem on board inside CBI, and she's also teamed up with Tommy and Miguel. Ever so slowly, by moving one square at a time across season 3, she's now with the winner. She's now got her meet with the connecting Che, and she's right where she wanted to be. She thought, okay, if I'm not going to get this from Jannard, then this is how I make my move. But even then, Tommy was also asking the same question even we were asking prior to episode 9.
You ain't got no idea what he be hiding. Y'all must have had some secret spots.
Tommy was definitely thinking what we were all thinking. Over the past few weeks, we've been questioning, can Shanti be trusted in this new partnership / coalition that they formed right at the end of episode 8, which really is a strong team when you think about who they are. Miguel, he has the insane princes, nothing to exactly fear because we've seen how Tommy's been able to dismantle his operation piece by piece. But when you add them to Tommy and Shanti, they do make for a great team. However, the question that we were asking prior to episode 9 was, could she be trusted? Which is still a valid question to be asking. Tommy was questioning whether she was protecting and hiding Jannard, and her response was, she was about business. Which again is another reason why Tommy looked at her and thought, I still don't fully trust you 100%. Because let's not forget, this is a man who's been working with other characters such as Dre before in the past, he's been burned before. When it comes down to business, money, power, powder and respect, who's to say she doesn't get a better offer next week or in 2 months time from another dealer? What's stopping her from jumping ship? Who knows what she could put into motion and get up to behind Tommy's back while he's dealing with all this chaos in Chicago. Like we mentioned just in my previous breakdown, Tommy's dealing with so much at this moment in time, being pulled in so many different directions. He hasn't even had time to grieve. He hasn't even had time to bury his brother yet, which we are going to see in episode 10. Now, in episode 9, he was being pulled in all sorts of those directions, but he still needed to keep his business ticking. In that moment, he needed to deliver the money to Che, and he could only count on Shanti to get that done. She didn't try any funny business or stab him in his back at that moment in time, maybe because that was her first meet with Che, maybe she was just trying to get a feel of the situation, feel of the connect, maybe also because Miguel was standing right there behind him. So only time will tell if she will stab Tommy in his back the next time she gets her meet with Che. I also had a very interesting conversation with one of you guys in the comment section. I believe it was sometime last week, and we spoke about Miguel's secret of him killing Che's son. Someone raised the point of how Shanti is a secret spiller. What if she tells Che? The only problem I saw with that particular theory is the fact that she doesn't know, and how would she even know about that secret? It definitely is something to keep in the back of our minds going into episode 10. If Maria and Miguel are speaking and she overhears, or someone else overhears them speaking about Miguel killing Che's son, the consequences would no doubt be Miguel's death. Have no mistake, Che would definitely kill him. But let's see if that secret does pop back up or whether it stays between Miguel and Maria. But just coming back round to Shanti and the topic of trust, there was also the moment right towards the end when they were making their plan to attack CBI. She finally came clean about her having an in with CBI, and Tommy's reaction was, why did you just wait until now to reveal that? It could have helped them a long time ago to get back at Janard and CBI, and that's why I still think Shanti is one you need to be very cautious around.
And like I said, the queen ain't no bitch. She got all the moves.
She's always playing her own game. Like D'Angelo said in The Wire, the queen ain't no bitch, she's got all the moves. Although with the Raheem move, keeping her source quiet, having him within the CBI, I do think he does actually die in episode 10. The fact that he wasn't firing any shots off in this war with Tommy, Miguel, Shanti, and when the Insane Princes came bursting into the church, that told Janard everything that he needed to know when he kind of had a glance over. Raheem definitely should have at least fired a couple of shots somewhere far and wide, at least made it look like he was shooting in this war. So he definitely will circle back round, he will connect him back to Shanti, and he will connect the dots that he was the one who gave up their location, which may even also give us the final confrontation between Janard and Shanti. I do think we all know this will probably result in Raheem's death. I do think he will be taken out early doors in episode 10, but after that, a final confrontation between Janard and Shanti, in my opinion, is definitely on the cards. Because something that always stood out for me post episode 8 was how Shanti told Janard that she was going to enjoy watching him fall. Now, this is something we are now beginning to witness. She knows who Janard is, how reckless he can be, how he's back on the drugs and what he was like before, because she was the one who was keeping him on the straight and narrow. She was the brains behind the plans. But just like she said, she's now seen Janard fall, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a final confrontation between the two where she does remind him of what she said, just before he's taken off the map by D-Mag. Now again, going back to the topic around trust, Tommy questioning whether Shanti was hiding Janard, her having Tommy's back during the meet with Che, there was another moment in episode 10 which made me think, yeah, Shanti really did hold it down. That was when D-Mac was shot by Janard. In the middle of the church, she decided that was one of their own soldiers was hurt, that was Tommy's nephew, he was hurt during the battle, and she couldn't just leave him here like a sitting duck. He had to be taken to safety. And this is the moment where she took it upon herself to go and grab D-Mac during the middle of the shootout. She grabbed him and pulled him to safety, and I do think in episode 10 we'll see Tommy having this conversation with Shanti and basically telling her how grateful he is for doing that, saving D-Mac and protecting him. Tommy will show his appreciation for Shanti's help in that situation, that's for sure. So having said that, does that change your mind going into episode 10? Has Shanti somewhat gained your trust? I still think the jury definitely is out when it comes to Shanti. That's just me personally, because you just never know in this particular game. Like Kanan said back in Power, there are no friends in the streets. And like I mentioned last week, she did conveniently leave all her moves out when she was spilling all those secrets. And if they really wanted to throw a spanner in the works for Tommy in episode 10, then having Shanti betray him could definitely be one route they go down. There will also be a lot of chaos in Chicago in episode 10. They're going to see a war like they've never seen before, and normally chaos does tend to provide opportunity, and we know how much of an opportunist she is. But based on what she showed us in episode 9, I am now slowly kind of just beginning to turn a corner when it comes to my thinking of Shanti, mainly because of what she did here in protecting D-Mac, but I still do maintain we do need to exercise caution and just keep in the back of our minds who this character is and what she's done before. She is a character who is very capable of switching up. Now, having said that, I do think Shanti will survive come the end of Force as well. I don't necessarily think every character has to be taken off the board come the end of Force. someone will remain to take control over the drug game in Chicago, otherwise it would kind of just leave a power vacuum. We also know Tommy won't be here, that's for sure. Joseph Sikora and Gary Lennon have already said in an interview with Anscape, Tommy's time is up in Chicago, so the drug game could very well be run by Shanti, who takes over CBI and the Coalition, / Miguel and the Insane Princes under Che. I think she's someone who could be very capable of running an operation. She's shown us what she's capable of, she's shown Tommy what she's very capable of, holding her own, whether it's getting the Viagra Triangle clubs on lock, starting small, and then in business meetings, smooth talking Peter in episode 8, and making sure they struck a deal with him to join their coalition, or holding it down with a connecting Che and also protecting DMAC in the war. I do think Shanti is very capable of holding down the drug game in Chicago, maybe in partnership with Miguel, while Tommy kind of goes off and does what he needs to do with Tariq. So this prediction is still very much on the cards as well. Shanti taking over CBI's operation once Janard and Diamond are moved out the way. Diamond is now gone, just one more left, which may also then leave Tommy attempting to go operational multi-city and deal with whatever he needs to deal with Tariq, whether that be the Italians, someone else, whether it be New York, LA, who knows. This prediction definitely is still very much on the cards. But that's a wrap with where we are with Shanti going into the final episode of Force. I do think Raheem will be out of here. She will lose her in within CBI. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it will matter too much. Can she be trusted to keep Tommy's operation running in Chicago? Or is she just there to service herself and potentially even take it for herself? I do think she will survive. I do think she will run Tommy's operation in Chicago while Tommy goes off to a new city. But let's wait and see. With that being said, the floor is now yours. Let me know how you see this story ending with Shanti's story arc. And next up, the next topic is Bobby DeFranco and law enforcement. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.